What's up YouTube? Welcome to Hannah Handles, and today I wanted to talk about long distance relationships. So I've been in two so far actually. One was my previous ex, and the most recent one ended up being my husband, and we're married now, so it worked out, right? Yeah, there are just a couple of things that I want to share about that might help you guys if you guys are in a long distance relationship. So let's get right in, yeah? So I got 5 tips to share with you guys. So the first, let me read my notes. First is to maintain some form of contact. Whether that be through phone call, I know some people, especially, I know a lot of people do like a lot of overseas relationships for those that are, what's it called? Deported, serving our country, and that means they can't even like Skype sometimes, I think, or do a phone call, so you gotta do a letter, right? Just like snail mail. But for most of us who are fortunate enough not to have to go through that, I think video chat, now that we have the luxury of that, how awesome is that? It's insane to hear other people's experiences where they were actually driving to see each other, and it was just phone call. But now we have the luxury of video chat where we can see each other, and so I think you guys should do that. I think that is very important to maintaining a relationship. If you have the means and methods of doing that, I think that you should take all the tools that are out there to help you maintain any form of contact, And for me, that was personally really important to actually see the person, see each other, because I'm not exactly an out of sight, out of mind person, but I do feel like seeing each other is very important for both people, for your side and for the other side. If your other person is also an out of sight, out of mind person, it's important to keep each other within sight and just remember that, hey, like, I'm dating this person. We have a relationship. So yeah. Personally, me and my husband, I know it's a little more extreme. You guys don't gotta do this. But I was really in love with him, so that's why I did it. But our whole relationship was actually long distance, even from the beginning. But we don't live that far from each other. So I was in LA at the time, and he was in NorCal, so like SF, like San Francisco, San Jose area, if you guys know where that is. So that is about in a 5-hour drive and a 1-hour flight, if you think of it that way. So it's very close, but far enough to be long distance so that we can't see each other every day. He actually personally made the effort, and he flew me up too, so we saw each other once a month, even though we are long distance, for like maybe 1 or 2 days at a time. But yeah, I think that really helped maintain our relationship, and it just helped me know that he's in it. Like, he wants to see me, and he knew that I wanted to see him. So the crazy thing is we didn't date for a long time. We got married pretty fast. We knew each other for a year and then got married. And during that time, we only saw each other physically for about 40 days. But the reason why I feel like we maintained our relationship is because we Skyped every single day. And I said it was extreme, but we would like Skype for like 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes, and we would sleep at like 3 in the morning, and it's like lovey-dovey stuff you guys do in the beginning of a relationship, and that lasted for a long time though. It wasn't like short-lived, it was a long time. But I think that what's interesting is that people thought it was weird because we got engaged fast and got married fast, and a lot of people were questioning, like, do we really know each other? And I get that you can't really fully know someone until you marry that person, but I would say that in comparison to other relationships, we really sped through that process because we spent so much time with each other. Kwon and I were saying, my husband Kwon and I were talking about how because when you Skype each other, when you're video chatting, you have nowhere else to go. It's not like you're physically together and you can be on your cell phone or something and that just being in close proximity is enough. But because we're video chatting, we're spending that time actually looking at each other, through the camera. I feel like our our conversations were a lot more intentional and deep than and so we covered a lot more topics. We got to know each other on a deeper level, and maybe faster than people who don't have long distance relationships. So I think for those who are in long distance relationships, I want to encourage you that it's not a bad thing actually. I think it can be a good thing to even fortify relationships. It just depends on how you go about it, you know? So my second tip is to communicate. I think that's the most important thing, and be honest with each other. Like if your feelings are drifting, or if you feel like you're not getting enough attention or whatever it is, I feel like talking about it is very important. I won't talk too much about like my first long distance relationship, my past ex, but I will say that there are a lot of things I didn't talk about with him. I should have communicated more. And I think that I was just scared to do so, of hurting him. But I realized that actually, the more you hold back from that person, I think the worse it is. So I would say definitely talk about it. And I learned a lot from that past relationship. And I thank God a lot for that relationship, because I learned so much and I was blessed so much by that experience with him. And it really helped me going into my relationship that now I'm married with my husband. But when we were dating at the time, there were a lot of times where like my feelings were like kind of like you know, and I would talk to him about it. And because we were talking about and communicating, we were able to find ways to make things better or see what we can do. And yeah, please communicate. And I think especially as us girls, what we tend to do is we hope for like this crazy romantic situation where we're thinking all these thoughts and we want the guy to know. But I just realized like guys don't know sometimes, and you just gotta say it. And guys really appreciate that, and that solves the whole like you know, the ambiguity that we girls do. And to be honest, I think it gets annoying for guys and just draining. And so it would help the both parties to just get it over with and just say it if it's on your mind, you know? So the third tip, it's not really a tip kind of, it's more like hey, a fact. It takes two to tango, right? So if, I mean, it's sad, but you know, if your other partner isn't really feeling the relationship, you know, eventually you guys have to come to a point where one of you guys has to let it go, right? And this is what I realized in my past relationship too. I'm just gonna keep this short. Both of you guys need to have feelings for each other, and if your partner isn't feeling that way, then at the end of the day, you can't do anything about it. Especially more so because it is long distance. The good thing though, I think, is that a long distance relationship breakup can be like interestingly easier to get over because you're not seeing each other so much anyway. And so I mean, that's a good part of a potential long distance relationship breakup, but hopefully you guys don't have to go through that. But if you do, I would say it would be easier just because you're not seeing each other a lot more than other people would have in closer proximity. Yeah. So step 4 is basically maintaining your own personal space as well. So I think a lot of times what people do in long distance relationships, it's a lot of an extreme, right? So either they're stuck in their room and just always like Skyping, right? Or on the other hand, it's just not even caring, like barely not even really making the time to spend that time you need with that person, right? And I think that this is important to maintain that balance between your own personal time, because this was a personal conflict with me with my husband when we were dating, because he wanted his personal time, and he's also someone who especially needs his space at times. I'm kind of like, I'm okay. Like, I love being with people. So for me, I just liked being with him all the time, but I realized it was draining for him, and also you don't want to be neglecting your own personal relationships, right? With your girlfriends, your guy friends, your family, whatever it is. You can't just be living in this just this own little bubble between you and that person. I think it's important to, you know, be a part of the world. Make sure you're doing the things that you should be doing and not just totally, you know, investing all your time just in this relationship. And I think it's healthy and helps grow both individuals, you know, to, yeah, because I think when you're just spending that time with that person, I think it becomes a little too much, and someone is gonna get exhausted most of the time. So, yeah. And the fifth thing is to have some type of plan. I think this is very important going into a long distance relationship because it gives you something to look forward to, right? So whether it be, so if I mean, you can just be dating just to date, but I feel like a lot of people in long distance relationships tend to date for what's it called, more long-term purposes, i.e. like engagement and then marriage. But if we're starting smaller, I would say make plans for the next time you guys will physically see each other, right? So maybe like 2 weeks later, like he or she will fly down to see you, right? And vice versa. And so you kind of want to look forward to that next time, because it's hard because you don't have something to physically hold on to, and I think it gives you hope and just like a desire to push on. And that's something that Kwan and I always look forward to. We're like, okay, we'll set the date for this time and we'll see each other then. And that helped me a lot. And I think, yeah, that it's a good and healthy way to maintain a relationship, so you guys have something to look forward to. And for Kwan and I, obviously we were very serious about each other from the beginning, and I already knew that me going into dating him, he was basically courting me, and I knew this was going to lead on to marriage. And so, you know, we were setting dates for when to get engaged and etc. And it's interesting because since we also have a really big age gap, so and distance wise, it was just, I mean, we had almost no mutual friends, so every time he came down, there was not many times he could come down and also for me to go up to see him. So we had to have like scheduled visits for like when he would actually meet my friends rather than meeting them like organically, just because we weren't able to do that, you know. But I think it is important to make that plan in time also for your partner to meet your friends and family if you know, you are serious about that person. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions about long distance relationships and about my own personal experience, go ahead and ask those questions below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned a little bit about me and my husband. And that's about it. So peace out. Bye.